Come closer, Tom.
Yeah, don't be afraid.
Sorry, this thing was on my
She
leg.
bites, but that's okay.
No,
Oh,
I won't bite you.
She
swear.
does bite.
it's not cotton candy. My hair.
Hi guys, thanks for joining. This is Essence of Life. Today we're talking about how we see the world. I'm Amanda Armagast.
Dominic Moore.
I'm Dr. Abbasi.
So if you guys have seen this series before, we just go through some philosophical questions and take turns answering them. One from a PA's perspective, a neurosurgeon's perspective, and social media.
Okay, let's start.
Okay, so one question that Dominic was actually pretty interested in hearing about is if you could have dinner with any historical figure, who would it be and why? I'm gonna let you answer that first.
No, I should be last.
Oh goodness. I was very interested because I'm not too sure. The list of people is pretty long, but I also don't know how many of them I could converse with in English.
Let's say you all speak the same language, even if their mother language is different. Let's just say they know English.
Okay. In that case, I probably really want to talk to Confucius, just because I'm very interested to know what he would think in like a modern setting, especially because I'm imagining this isn't just I'm sitting in some ethereal room having a one-on-one dinner conversation. He would just be more of a, hey, this is the 21st century. How do you feel like these ideals have pulled up? Because a lot of the countries over there in the East have sort of migrated with those teachings, but also some of them gone away from it and modernized into different ways. It's very interesting to see muted colors being a very like simplistic thing, but also kind of artistic, and how elegance is so important.
Confucius.
Yeah. So,
Is that the one you would have?
Well,
No. Why Confucius?
mostly because as far as a lot of ideologies go, there's not too much of that in my life that I have interacted with. And so a lot of it comes from either things that I've learned through my fiance Tina, or just sort of like in my travels with other parts of my family. And it's kind of like looking at a puzzle and feeling like you have a lot of the pieces there, but not really knowing how it all goes together at the end of the day with the main image. And I think it would just be much easier to talk through the puzzle.
I could be your Confucius. You should do this and this and this and nothing else, and that's it. No, you need to understand about the Confucius. He came to a time that it was chaos in today's what we call China. It was chaos. It was landlords, warlords. One village it was in chaos against the other one, and so on. And even though his philosophy was very harsh, he was this unmovable. These are the list of the things you can do and you should be done. So if the Confucius you want to have a dinner with, just read his book. He gives you all the answer. He doesn't hold back. And so your wish with Confucius specifically, your wish can come true because his structure was so rigid. But important thing about his philosophy was that rigid structure was really needed in the time. That's what made him special, that the chaos had to go away no matter what.
Do you think you would feel differently now, or do you think you'd be even just kind of double down on it?
I don't. I think many of the people who come up with that kind of rigid structure in their mind, they stick with it. That is the experience. I don't know. This is a speculation, but that's actually, I think, is a very interesting thing. Is one of those few people you can, even after thousands of years, know exactly what he would say to certain things because he was very rigid. But again, that rigidity what saved the China, made it actually unified the China, that you have to respect your parent no matter what. If your parent said jump off the cliff, you jump off the cliff. If your father says you marry this one and so on, that rigid structure was actually what was needed and saved the China from chaos. So you're welcome. I gave you Confucius.
Thank you. A little present.
Yeah. So who would that be
mine's
for
a
you?
lot less deep than Dominic's, actually. Mine's a little bit more drama based.
Kardashian.
No, not Kim K. I heard something about her the other day. I'm really not into her anymore.
Well, you talked to somebody
And that's why I'm not into
very
her.
close to Kim.
I know.
That somebody who would
little
chauffeur
bit
Kim
mad at her,
around, Kim around, and told so you are highly connected to high level people.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Well, so who I would want to talk to is anyone of the original president's wives. I feel like that conversation would be so unique, and I would really like to
What about Michelle Obama?
No, like,
Original.
yeah,
Yes,
I'm
okay.
talking about the founding fathers. I would
Don't
and
talk to Mary
Michelle-
Lincoln. Do not talk to Mary Lincoln.
actually, Mary Lincoln is someone I would want to
Oh,
talk about because
no.
she had so much controversy, like people not liking her.
No,
Yeah.
It sounds like you met her, Dr. Vasi.
I
did meet her
you're that
virtually.
So young for your age.
Nice.
So I would like to meet one of them or maybe someone more recent. It's not because of any of my political beliefs. I would love to have dinner with Donald Trump. I just think that that'd be really entertaining. I feel like I'd be cracking up the whole time. So those are who I would like to
Yeah.
talk to.
So if you would meet Mary Lincoln based on the history provided to all of us, that would be the last time you want to meet Mary Lincoln.
And there's millions of people I've met and I'm glad I did. And that was the last time I wanted to meet them.
So you'll be
I
now
don't think there's anything wrong with
a
that.
trivia. Did you know Mary Lincoln saved General Grant's life?
No idea.
Okay, Mary Lincoln was extremely psychotic, very abrasive, very, how do you say abrasive? Very
Abrasive?
abrasive, and everybody would try to avoid her. And the wife of other politicians and generals would hate Mary Lincoln. When the day Abraham Lincoln got assassinated, actually the real target was General Grant because he was the person who won the war against the South. And John Booth actually wanted to kill General Grant, but General Grant's wife hated Mary Lincoln so much that they made up a story that something is not right, they're sick, so they did not go to the same theater for the same thing.
Tell him the kicker.
And that they passed each other. Yeah. So the thing is, John Booth is going into his carriage, and the Grant is going the other way, and says, "Damn, Grant is not there. But let's see who else I can kill."
They literally rode past each other on John Booth's way to the theater for the assassination.
And the reason Grant wasn't there because his wife wouldn't let him. The reason his wife wouldn't let him is because his wife could not stand Mary Lincoln like 99% of the anybody who was in Washington, D.C. Nobody could stand Mary Lincoln.
And I want to hear all of that. I want to
Yeah.
hear why was she so annoying? I get it.
Yeah.
Everyone hated her, but like, I want this very specific story.
Okay.
I
the
definitely,
feelings.
now
Yeah.
that I can actually just meet Confucius, I think I'm gonna have to change my answer to hers too. Yeah, it's just sometimes you want to meet the most toxic people in the world and just see, okay, yeah, that's awful. Thanks.
Oh, my
Bye.
life is better, huh? My life is good. I'm not that toxic. Okay.
Who do
My
you want to
turn?
meet? Yeah.
How do you say that? Hands down, Richard Feynman.
Okay.
Okay.
Richard Feynman was a theoretical physicist, played a major role in the development of the nuclear bomb in Manhattan Project. And the reason I wanted to meet him, and not like, some other obscure and highly intelligent people, is because he's intelligent, the way he looked at the life is you can follow it. You can understand why he came up with the thing. Like there is a saying that he and Julian the other person who won the Nobel Prize with him, they came out with quantum electrodynamics at the same time. They both won the Nobel Prize for that. But Julian, what was his name? I forgot the name. Julian's path to that was a 75-page calculation, whereas Richard Feynman created a new method of calculating that outside of the box that everybody would understand, everybody could calculate. Only Julian, whatever his last name was, could do his way, but everybody could do Feynman's way. Now, what are we using today? Feynman's diagram to do that. He had a natural way of looking at the life problems, that he has this fantastic way of explaining things that would make you understand the quantum physics, even if you had nothing to do with it, if you don't understand the math of it and so on. And that wisdom is very valuable. That wisdom to be able to bring down the natural facts to a point that everybody understand, that is gold.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
useful for more people than it is to come up with like the most beautiful formula, 75 pages. You can
Ev-
simplify it.
He would explain to me questions that I have in a way that after that meeting, I would be truly wiser and more knowledgeable rather than I meet with some obscure thing that they explain to me, De Broglie calculation and so on. I would be as dumb after them before, but
You'd
with
have
him,
more questions.
with him, I would be truly one step forward in my mental development.
Yeah, it's the difference between one guy who is as smart as 1,000 people and one guy who can make 1,000 people smart.
Yeah,
Yes,
I
that
like
is- I like that.
that.
I like your analogies. You know?
They're always cooking.
Yeah,
I
good,
keep 'em
good.
cooking.
Okay, next.
Okay, so next is if you could change one thing about the world, what would it be and why?
Oh, should I go first again?
You can go first, yeah. Let's do this order. Yeah, that's a good idea.
Okay. I think public transport should just kind of be in a lot of places. It's just so much easier, but that's also because I think a lot of times growing up, I realized how nice it would be to just be able to get someplace and how many people really want to try to do things for their lives. But a lot of the times that initial startup cost of just, can I get from A to B is so daunting that they either can't do it or they give up because they don't want to try.
Yeah.
And I just feel as if that would raise a lot of things up in other areas. Now, granted, I do understand that that would be pretty bad for like climate change and whatnot. And I'm not really talking if we're trying to force some new level of geoengineering by just adding
Maybe
more
there should be
transport.
the level of geoengineering.
Yeah. But, in general, it's like everything on the ground would just be kind of better if you could get from A to B a little bit faster
Yeah.
or reliably at least.
That is a really interesting take because I totally agree with you. We need more public transport. Being here in Minnesota, you haven't experienced this yet, but we have like no public transport besides Uber. So I agree with you on that. I actually was thinking of it at a different level. I was thinking if I could change one thing about the world, I would change the way we interact with one another. I think that there's a lot of unacceptance and a lot of judging. We're so in our own bubbles, it's hard to see other people and what other people's bubbles look like. So that's what I would change personally.
I think that's kind of interesting because that's something that we've been doing for ages, trying to figure out. Like even Friedrich Nietzsche way back in the day was saying stuff about, oh, you know what? Maybe it's too hard to try and figure out other people. You should just be the best version of yourself and ignore what anybody else thinks, because he just got fed up with it. He went off into a cave for like decades and just said, all right, screw this. No other people.
And that's exactly it. Just be the best version of yourself and don't care what other people think. But in being the best version of yourself, you need to be the best version for other people. So you can't, the best version of yourself isn't going to be someone who's manipulative and taking advantage of. Yeah, exactly. They're well intended.
So if I could change one thing about the world and what that we, is it anything or is it things that are possible to change?
Anything. Mine isn't
Anything.
possible to change.
Huh?
Mine's not possible.
Well, then I would put a chip in everybody's brain that
Okay,
everybody
Elon.
can directly communicate with other people. To get rid of misunderstanding between people. That truly what I think is what you think what I think is what I really think.
Oh, okay.
I think we would have much less wars.
Yeah. Okay.
If
So
that would
no
be-
miscommunication. I was thinking more along the lines of I'm going to get spam emails from the guy down the road.
No, well,
but
that probably you would as well. But
They find
you know,
out how.
root of 99% of the time, the root of struggle, conflict is miscommunication. There is a, you know who Rumi is? Rumi is a old Persian poet, philosopher who has and what he did, he had all his stories in the form of a poem. It's a long poem, but it has a philosophical thing. One of his poems is about these three guys. One is a Turk, one is a Persian, the other one is from Rome. They speak different languages, obviously. And they work for this guy on a field, and the guy has only one coin. His coin is enough to pay all of them, but just one coin. It says, here, your coin. You just go and deal with it. And these three people, they go to a bazaar or the market, and all three of them actually want to have grapes. but everybody is using his own language, says, I want this. I said, no, I want this. But they mean the same thing. And they start beating each other up. And the analogy for a war. But then when somebody who understands all three language comes and tells them, you want the same thing. Why are you fighting? But you need that person who understand all three perspectives, who can be in the mind of all three of them to make them understand that they are not as far apart as they think they are, that there is no reason for the conflict. Now, that has as well a downside if you have that chip, because God, if you knew what people think about you, that might be itself not very pleasant thing. But so it's a double-edged sword, but still, I still would go for that people can understand each other without miscommunication and without misconception.
I think that's really good, because it's one of those things where even if you speak the same language, so for example, this is an anecdote I tell all the time. I think I'm in the right, but I understand I had to accept I was in the wrong. One day I came home from working at the hospital to my fiance, and she had gotten pizza and I worked the night shift. And normally I can eat an entire pizza by myself, and that's how we order pizza. So she told me, hey, there's some pizza in the fridge, you can have it. I proceeded to eat 5 slices of pizza and finished it. The next day she came to me and said, where's the pizza? And I said, what do you mean? You said there's some pizza. Yeah, I can tell you exactly where it went. I know where it went. I watched it go in.
Right, yeah.
But what she meant is you can have some of the pizza in the fridge. And we speak the same language. It's just she was very tired, half asleep and delirious. I was very tired and I just wanted pizza. And so
you just described an old concept of the philosophy about what I understand under one concept is not necessarily what you understand under one concept. It goes even that far. Do you see that the red in that piece of equipment? You and I, we don't see the same thing. That red in your brain is different, and they have done those studies where you combine 2 colors to match a pure color. A pure color is a wavelength. Yes. But the way we perceive the color, you can mix 2 different wavelengths to get that color. And I was so surprised. Each person has to mix 2 different colors in a different combination. But look at the combination, like, green, you can mix what?
Yellow and blue.
Yellow and blue to get green. The combination of how much yellow, how much blue to get a green is to get a certain kind of green is different for every single person. It goes physical. This is physical. Yeah. It is physical. Okay. Now, if that's not the same, how could we understand, like, what's the bravery? What is a brave man? This goes to the book that is called, a very old book called The Last Day of Socrates by Plato. So he says, he's reciting the actual Socrates says, the Socratic way. What is a brave? Now, instead of trying to say what's a brave, describe situation. What does brave mean? Now, I'm transporting 3,000 years ahead of the time. Is it brave to walk on a minefield? Now, you may say, well, it is brave. Come on, I would never walk on but what if you think if you walk on a minefield, you are going to go to heaven and get 72 virgin? Is it still brave to go there? Is it bravery? Or is it dumbness? Or is it greed that you will be having intercourse with 72 virgin? Is that bravery? Now, what is it brave if you don't know it's a minefield? And so on. And so you see, you can dissect that, and I would never know what that dissection in your brain look like. But what we could do to come to a conclusion is that we create a situation that, like, describes what the attributes of a person is that it's brave. Like, I know it's a minefield. I'm scared, shitless, but I know it is necessary to save people. I'm walking on the minefield nevertheless, not because I'm not scared of it, but because I know it will change people's life.
Mhm.
Now, that is bravery. Whereas walking on that to get 72 virgin is greed.
Mhm.
Who wants 72 virgins? Okay. Walking on that, not knowing, it is ignorance.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Walking on that because somebody told me is fanatism.
Mhm.
Same action
Mhm.
could be, but what you and I we call brave now, and you just described with the pizza very well how the miscommunication can be.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay, we have two more questions.
maybe do know one.
No, I
You want to do two? Okay. Oh,
Just make it
this is grumbling down.
okay. Share a belief or a philosophy that guides your life.
Okay. I'll start again.
Yeah.
So mine's pretty generic. I'm in charge of when I want to feel something. So
Yeah.
if I'm feeling bad, then that's my fault.
Mhm.
Somebody can, do something, put me there, but if I stay there, that's my fault. So
That's a really mature way of thinking. I feel like a lot of times people have a feeling and make it someone else's responsibility.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, when I think about it, I'm in charge of making sure that I enjoy my life. Nobody else is responsible for that.
Mhm.
And so if I'm not having a good time, or I'm sulking over something, or I'm just feeling poorly about myself, then the only person that really hurts, first and foremost, is me. Now, it can hurt people around me, of course, but I am perpetuating something that ruins myself. And there's no reason for me to do that, no point dwelling on stuff like that. So
I like that.
Taking charge in your life. I like that.
Mine is kind of along the same lines, not exactly. Everything happens the way it's supposed to happen. I think that even
Determinalism. That is a name for that in the
Really?
philosophy. Yeah.
yeah, I feel like even the worst things you can learn from them, or they have different consequences. Like if I stub my, that's a bad example, but like if when I got in a car accident recently, the lady was yelling at me and that made me call the police because she was like saying swear words and stuff. And then that actually helped my case where the police were like, no, there was an ambulance going through and she crashed because of that. So even the worst things, everything can have a better outcome if you look at it like that.
So can you repeat the question?
Yeah, share a belief or a philosophy that guides your life.
I can recite, and which is my way of life, recite from Gerald Ford.
Oh.
Gerald Ford was after Nixon, which was a disaster for the country, and the trust was gone, and every president did this, did that, and so on. And somebody asked Gerald Ford, what was your achievement in the presidency? And his answer was the best answer I have ever heard. He said, I left the country better than when I found it. Or presidency better than I found it. And I think my philosophy in life is try to have at least try to have a positive impact on everything I find. If it's a nail bent, I straighten it. If it's unorganized, I organize it. If it's in disarray, I try to make it better. If it's broken, I try to fix it. And that is not to do like something good for other people. That is what helped me in my own personal development to leave things like, if this is here, I put it here. Leave the things better than you found.
Yeah.
Okay.
The
Good.
last question is, it's our toughest one. What is your definition of a fulfilling life? If you want to think about it a little bit, you can, because I have been thinking about this one. Because I knew I was going to ask it, and I know it's a tough one, so I'll give you guys some space to think. My definition of a fulfilling life is pretty simple. I think that it's when I pass away, I want to have had more people happy than more people sad because of me.
It's good. It's good. Because that kind of plays with the whole idea of like, you weren't a blight on the world, you were
Yeah.
a boon. The world's better off for having you, which kind of goes a lot with the philosophy you like to live by too. So
Yeah.
I think for me to be fulfilled at the end of the day, it not necessarily legacy, but I want to have sort of the same thing, but I want it to be a physical impact that stays. I want to not only make the world a better place around me. I don't need a big impact. If I had a big impact, that would be great. But if I made 3 people's lives better, that's ideal. But on top of that, I want to leave something behind that will perpetuate that continuously. So for me, a lot of it, I'm really big into children. I really, really, I'm getting a little emotional for that, but I really would like to have children someday. And I want to raise them to a point where I can trust that in the future, they will also make things better.
You can have my children. I'm trying to get rid of them. You can have them. All of them are yours. I mean, you can adopt them all. I cannot. Hey, I adopt you and you adopt them. Then they become my own. I will be the grandpa to my own children. But that would be epic.
We're not even in Alabama.
You guys didn't know this, but actually, Dominic and I are both Abbasi's kids.
Yeah. Yeah. So coming back to that, and I think the last question, this question are very
Yeah, they're
Very-
very similar.
very
That's
similar.
why I asked them back to back.
Yeah, and yeah, the answer, I think that's a very reasonable answer, and I agree with you that I want to my life had a positive impact on people and not a negative impact on
Mhm.
people. That sums it up, and that's
Yeah,
That's all I have to
it
say.
can be simple.
yeah.
Well, thank you guys. I hope you learned a little bit more about the Inspired Spine team. I'm Amanda Armagast,
Dominic Moore.
IS Life team.
the IS Life team. We're all the team.
Yes.